Hello, everyone. Andrew here from the Indie Podcast, bringing you another interview on an inspiring indie-related topic. Today, I'm talking to Melitta Campbell, and we're going to be talking about setting up a business. So sit back, grab something to take some notes, and get ready to listen, because this is going to help you as an indie. Hello, Melitta.
Hi, Andrew. It's great to be here with you today.
And you're there in sunny Switzerland, I believe.
I am, and it is sunny today. It wasn't yesterday, but yeah, today is very sunny.
You heard the storms we've had here then.
Yeah, I think they hit us first. We have a lot of storms here where I live. It's really kind of half in the mountains, overlooking Lake Geneva. It's really a beautiful place, but it is quite exposed. So we get a lot of storms, and I'm in a rickety old chalet, and the shutters are always going. But this time it felt like a bit of a Disney storm. You could really hear the wind going around, and then it would hit the house. You're like, whoa! But it's nice here that you can see the weather. When I was in the UK, you could see it was grey in the rain, but you couldn't necessarily see where it was coming from, which is I really love about here.
Sounds interesting. So today we're going to talk about setting up businesses in your 50s and beyond. And I have to say, I saw your article in Fast Company, 7 questions to ask before setting up a business, and thought it was absolutely fabulous. So I couldn't wait to actually talk to you. But before we start talking about setting up businesses, tell us a little bit about you. You know, what's brought you here, and what do you do?
So today I'm a business and communications sort of coach and mentor for women who are either starting out in business for the first time, or they've had a business for a while, but they're not quite yet feeling like a fully fledged business owner. Maybe that's because they're struggling to communicate their value. They're not quite have that stable pipeline of clients. There's something about their business that's not quite coming together, and that's where I really specialize in helping people.
And you've got a good few indies as clients, I believe, as well.
Yeah. We were just chatting before I came on the show that actually the women I work with who are sort of 45 plus are great to work with, because they know that now is the time they really want to get stuck in and make a difference. They're very coachable. They listen to everything, and I think they've got enough experience that they know what feels right for them. Mm-hmm. So if I'm explaining something to them or giving some advice, then it's not always a kind of case of, oh right, I have to go away and do all of this. It's what of this fits with my business and how I want to be running things, and it's more collaborative with them, which always means that I've got a lot of experience in this. I've worked for 25 plus years in startups and business communication, marketing, and business strategy. And I've run my own businesses for 12 years. So I've got a lot of experience that I bring, but it's really important for me that the other person is building a business that's right for them, that I never come with a sort of cookie cutter, this is what you do, this is the approach to your market. It's always, this is the framework, and I work with them to apply that framework in a way that's right for them and feels authentic. And yeah, with those who have had more life experience, they're much more aware of what feels right for them, and they're more determined to stick with that. You know, they're a little bit stubborn sometimes, but that's good. So, and the start point, where I see people struggle in business and kind of waste time, money, effort, and resources is in doing all the things people say you should do, in jumping in too soon to start marketing your business before you know who you are, what you want to create, how you want to make a difference, who your clients are, all of this kind of thing. But those that come into business slightly later in life have a much better idea and a much better feel for who they are and what their values are, and what's important to them. And so that start point makes things a lot easier. With people that I work with that are younger, it's very exciting because they have so much energy, which is always like, wow. But they flip-flop around more in that early stages of what do I stand for, whereas people later in life already have a much clearer idea of what it is that they stand for and how they want to use their talents and experiences to help others and make the world a better place in some way.
So it sounds like indies have some advantages, maybe being a little bit more thoughtful, having
Mm.
a bit more experience. Um, if they are going to set up a business, now I mentioned earlier that you've written a really brilliant article, 7 questions to ask before setting up a business. You know, what should they think about beforehand?
Yeah, I think with any business, when you go into it, if it's something that you haven't done before, and even if you've set up a business, so I've had 3 businesses, but each one has been quite different,
Mm,
for a specific reason. So I'm always learning something new in that. So it's it takes a certain amount of courage, commitment, and determination to make any business work. So I always think that's the first point, is, am I really willing to do this and stick with it? So it's a bit like the a dog is for life, not for Christmas kind
yes.
of concept. I
Yeah.
see a lot of people starting out in a business and like, oh yeah, I'll give this a try. And then sort of 3 months into their business, they haven't already made a million and they give up. And of course, you'll know this as much as I do. It takes a
Mhm.
lot longer than that to build a business. To test a concept can be quite quick, but to actually build a sustainable business that creates that really is known in the marketplace and attracts a consistent flow of the right clients, that's a process,
Mhm.
and you have to be aware of that and be willing to fail, because you will. But that's the fun, you at the beginning. I think I see a lot of people coming in and that's their biggest fear, is what if I fail?
Yeah.
And kind of once you've been in the game for a while, you realize actually that's the whole point, is to learn and to grow. And by making these mistakes, you really figure out what does work and what does feel right and who
Mhm.
is your ideal client. Because quite often we all start working with a certain clients, and this is what happened in my first business. I was very successful. I had more clients than I knew what to do with. I was earning a good money. I was working on some incredible projects for, I was doing like communication consultancy for some of the most powerful men in the world
Mhm.
and writing on their behalf and writing their speeches and stuff. I was like, really, me?
Mhm.
Like, at the time, I had a 5-month-old baby under my desk. But it it was that's my biggest failure, because I came to close to burnout in that business because it wasn't my passion. It wasn't using the skills in the way that I wanted to create a difference in the world. What I really wanted to be doing was empowering women, and I
Mhm.
was working with these already very empowered men. So there was a big disconnect there. So I wasn't using my skills in the right way. So that failure really put me on the right track. And now how I feel in my business and how I feel each day when I wake up and sort of think about the day, most of the time I'm up by 4:30 in the morning because I'm so excited. I've got all these ideas and I want to get going. Whereas before I just struggled to even get out of bed and motivate myself. So our failures teach us so much in business. So once you realize that failure is purely
Mhm.
information that guides you on and keeps you on track,
Yeah.
then it becomes quite an exciting journey. So I think the early stages, I often say starting a business is easier and harder than you think, because all the things you think are going to be difficult, like finding the time, finding the investment, all these kind of
Yeah.
things, once you get going, it's irrelevant. You'll find the time appears. Once it becomes a priority, none of these things that you think are going to be difficult, they just disappear. They're not an
Mhm.
issue at all. But what will really trip you up are the things you haven't thought about, and most of those are around mindset, and this, like, how do you handle it when things don't go wrong, don't go right rather, and how do you tackle the loneliness, because
Mhm.
when you're starting out in business on your own, you're on your own. So of course you have to build a success network. That's always the first step
Yeah.
I tell people to do. Build a team of people around you, not necessarily paid team, but
No.
people who are on the same path, who get what you're trying to achieve and are there to support you and ask for help as soon as you need it. So yeah, so a lot of these things that people think are going to be difficult, I say, just aren't. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking about starting a business and holding yourself back because of a whole list of reasons that probably feel very real, and this is what I talk about in the article, but they're not. They're really just excuses that are hiding some kind of fear. And every decision we make is either driven through fear or through freedom. So if we find ourselves holding back from something, it's a
Mhm.
clear indication that there's some fear hidden behind it. So
Yeah.
you have to dig into that a little bit and find out what that fear is, and then work through that to make sure that you can flow freely towards whatever it is that your real goals in life are.
I mean, you said, unpacking what you said there, there's so much information there. But one thing that comes through quite clearly is it makes sense to have some support, some help. I mean, if you're an indie, you're setting off, you're in perhaps a particularly strange environment, you're not used to being there.
Yeah.
And as you said, mindset is incredibly important, you know, how you keep your head on the straight and narrow. So I just wonder, what sort of words of wisdom would you have for sort of an aspiring indie going out there setting up a business, you know, just trying to maintain that, so that momentum?
Yeah. And I think this could be one area that would be perhaps more of a challenge coming into a business when you're older,
Yeah,
is that perhaps you don't necessarily feel you have the right to ask for help
yeah,
because you feel like you should know it all by now. But nobody ever really knows it all. So, and that's the mistake I made in my first business, was not asking for help. I was struggling. I didn't really know what I was doing,
yeah,
and I didn't know. I mean, this was 12 years ago. I was a lot younger at that time. I was building my business in Switzerland, where I don't
yeah.
speak the local language. I don't really know what's going on here either. So really, against all the odds, my husband was traveling. I did it completely on my own. But I didn't know that things like business coaches, for example, existed.
Yeah.
And I think if I had known they existed, I probably would have assumed that it wasn't for people like me. It's more for people with a big business that's
Yeah.
doing a lot of turnover or whatever, has a big team. But that's not true. I mean, there are all sorts of different business coaches out there, from ones that work with solopreneurs like myself to
Yeah.
ones that help you scale up and everything in between. So it was worth kind of thinking about, what help do you need?
Yeah.
What questions do you have? Where, and ask your body as well, because often if you have questions, your mind will think one thing, but it will feel very different in your body. Your body will tell you, this is definitely something you need to focus on, or this is somewhere you need to ask for help. So listen into those internal feelings, and yeah, I would get out, network, and surround yourself with other people growing businesses, because they have already got a lot of clues and experiences they can share with you, and to help you get started, and then think more strategically about the help that you need and the questions you have, and where you can get that support as well.
I think that's incredibly good advice. Get out there, find people who've done it, talk to them about what they're doing, and then quite carefully pick some support for yourself. And as you say,
Yeah.
you know, a business coach could be the person that gets you through. So maybe invest in that a little bit. But
Yeah.
just going on to your article, the 7 questions, I thought that was incredibly useful. And I'm going to post that when I post the interview in the comments, so people can find that. But I mean, I don't know, can you talk us through the sort of 7 questions to ask? Or am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, that was quite a long time ago, that article. um but yeah, I think
Or
it's
generally,
really,
you know, the sorts of questions to ask yourself.
yeah, I think it's more, I think when people start a business, they're often thinking about, how am I going to get out into the marketplace? How am I going to, and they kind of look at where businesses are that they see. They don't necessarily see where these businesses have gone through to get to where they are today. And that's where I really like to focus a lot of my content, is on drawing that curtain back to
Mhm.
say, okay, well, all these successful people you see, this is where they've come from. These are the decisions they've made. So really, you need to be clear about what it is you want to create to start
Yeah.
with. And it's really important, obviously, to understand your ideal client in a lot of depth, and who
Mhm.
these people are. And it's amazing how many people that have been in business for a long time that I speak to, who still can't tell me who their ideal clients are. So that's a really important step. But the step before that is to know what you want to create.
Mhm.
What skills do you bring to your business, and how do you want to use those in a way that's going to help people move forward? And so to really kind of do a bit of a stock take, if you like,
Yeah.
of what you already bring to your business and why it's important to you to start a business. As I was saying, going out in business is tough. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. Things aren't going to go according to plan a lot of the time, but when they do, you'll feel unbelievable. But to help you stay motivated, you need to know why you're doing this and why it's important to you, and how you're going to help people have some kind of transformation, how their life is going to be better, and how you uniquely can do that and really get clear about your value. And that piece, we in my programs, we spend a lot of time. We
Yeah.
spend about 3 weeks really digging into this, because I feel it's so important, even if you've had a business for a while, to go back to this and really, it's your motivation. It's what's going to keep you going, and also to have that bigger vision of where you're going. So be super clear about where you are at the beginning,
Yeah.
what you're doing and why, and what you want to create, so you can pick the right business model, but also know where you're going to go and have this big dream of a vision. And if you're coming from a corporate background, that's sometimes quite difficult, because we've been trained to set goals that
Yes.
are achievable and realistic and time-based and all of this, which is great for milestone goals in your business. But in terms of a big goal, it's not going to motivate you if you know you can already do it. So you want a goal that's going to push you to make new connections, to figure out things out, to grow beyond who you are and really discover who you can be. And it's the most wonderful journey of self-discovery, starting your own business. And I'm really quite passionate that everybody should start a business, even if it's just a tiny little thing on the side, because it's your one chance to really discover who you really are and who you can be, and have no limits on what you can do, and where you can succeed. So it's very exciting, I think. So I would really start with the where you are, and having that vision as well, and then kind of mapping out the steps in between, because how you're going to get there is much more, you'll figure that out. I mean, everybody always does. As Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable, and that's so true. But you just need to know the direction for sure. If you don't, it's like getting in a car and driving. It's like you'll soon stop if you don't know where you're going. And having a map is helpful. But if you don't have a map, you'll still figure it out. You'll stop, you'll ask directions, along the way. But if you don't have a direction at all, then you're never going to get anywhere. So I think that those, having the sort of bookends, and as Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. Really have that, and then work backwards, and everything else becomes a lot easier in between.
So really, quoting Stephen Covey, start with an end in mind. Know where you're going is really critical. Now, we're nearly coming to the end of this, and I'm really grateful, because I'm going to go back and listen to this myself several times and try and unpack all of the really, there's so much value in there. But to eke out a little bit more value for the indie listeners, they do love resources, tips, tools, anything like that. Have you got a couple that you think indies might find useful? Maybe a book or something to go and look at?
Oh, so many. I'm a bit of a self-development addict. I invest tens of thousands in my personal growth every single year, since I've discovered the value of having help. So so many resources. I would definitely, alongside discovering your purpose, and we both went through that Ikigai workshop, which was really a great thing. So I would definitely start with that. That's a really interesting way to discover your purpose and what you want to create in life, and use that as a sort of compass. The other thing that mindset, you absolutely have to work on your mindset. So anything by Brené Brown is amazing around that. There's Carol Dweck's book called Mindset, which is wonderful, and that really helps you understand how this growth mindset, and how to create that, which is really vital for any entrepreneur, I believe. And also time management and productivity, I think, in today's modern world is a challenge for most people, and something that can often hold us back, and needn't do. Once we understand how to manage our time and our goals and stay productive, and that can help with overcoming overwhelm. Because overwhelm doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from not being able to plan your time and not knowing what to do next. What's the most important thing to be working on? So I think if you can start with those, then you're going to give yourself a massive advantage in your business.
Okay, one last question now. If someone was to tune into the very last few minutes of this podcast, and we want them to rewind right to the beginning, what would your top tip, and I know you said an awful lot today of really useful stuff, would you say to our listeners to make them successful business indies?
I think the biggest battle I see everybody have when it comes to running their own business is this internal dialogue we have, and this big question: can I really do this? Like, am I really good enough? Am I worth this? And so I think the biggest tip has to be to really master your fears, figure out, like, really work on your mindset, and have a tool. And if I can share a tool with people about how to unpack these, how to recognize these hidden fears that hold us back without us even realizing it. We think that they are genuine reasons, but they're not. There's something deeper behind that. And there's a very simple tool that I can share with your listeners about how to unpack that and recognize when something is an excuse that's hiding a fear, and when something is giving you information to say, you need to learn a bit more about this, or this is a gap, or you need some help, because it's quite difficult to know the difference between the two. And I think that's a big thing that can really help people, is understanding what in their mindset, what does help, where is the questions, and where are the excuses, and
Right.
it's sometimes hard to know the difference between the two.
I think that is very true. I find that myself. Sometimes the questions and the excuses are something very interesting to look at. Thank you very much, Melitta, for time today. If people want to find out more about what you do, can they find you on social media, on the internet?
Yeah. For a long time, I was thinking, what am I going to call my company? That when I pivoted into this business coaching, and I was trying to come up with something that was authentic, something that was meaningful, something that was unique to me. And I was really struggling with this for ages. And then I was at a dinner party and someone said, well, how do we find you? And I said, oh, just Google Melitta Campbell. I'm the only one. And if you Google me, I did it just for a test recently. And I think it was 12 pages in before there was anything that wasn't about me. So if you want to find me, just Google Melitta Campbell. I'm on every social media platform as well. And it's melittacampbell.com, 2 T's in my name. And then, you'll find all my content there.
Thanks for joining us on the Indie Interview. For more information, tools, or to book one of our team to work with you or your business, or if you'd like us to speak at your event or conference, visit imnotdoneyet.co.uk. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at andrew@imnotdoneyet.co.uk. Please do follow or like us on Facebook or Instagram.